What's going on, Texas Longhorn fans? It's your main man, Anwar Richardson, coming to you for this Overreaction Monday. Hey, before we get started, please do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button because we need some subscriptions. We would love for you to continue to enjoy all the videos that we put out. And when you subscribe, you make sure it gives you notifications so you know there's a new video that just posted. And hit the like button. Now, as you see, it's going to be me by myself. So I need more likes than dislikes today, okay? Just be kind to your boy as I try to do this video today. Where is Jeff Ketchum, you're asking? I don't know. Jeff Ketchum going to be here this week? I don't know. Is Jeff Ketchum going to order an O-ring so we can actually see him and it won't be an Alfred Hitchcock type film? Probably not. Eventually, but probably not. I don't know where Jeff Ketchum is at this week. I don't know if he's going to be here this week, but I know that you guys are ready for an Overreaction Monday. So your main man, Anwar Richardson, he's here to give it to you. And so here's what I decided to do. I wanted to talk to you guys about a column that I posted on Orange Bloods on Sunday. It's the Sunday Pulpit. If you have not subscribed to orangebloods.com, please know there'll be some time. I'm going to give you a little secret. For those of you who have not subscribed yet, the people at Rivals probably get a little ticked off of me for saying this. Wait until about late July, early August. Rivals always puts out specials. They always put out specials for people to sign up. So wait until that time. They'll give away free gear. They'll give you free months, like all those kind of things. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. They don't tell me. And clearly this is the reason why. But if I was you, I would just hold off until then and then subscribe to Orange Bloods and then get all the free stuff and then get all the inside information that you need. This way, you're not 2 months or 3 months behind on some things that may happen, like the Jake Smith thing we had back in April before he announced he was going to the transfer portal. Little things like that, you want to make sure that you're on top of. So anyway, in my column, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is this conversation with Texas fans, right? And we always talk about, we start off, we say, okay, well, what is Texas going to be this year? Are they going to be 10-2? And everyone always talks himself and he drinks that burnt orange Kool-Aid and talks themselves into 10-2. And some people will go higher than that. And some of you just go for it all and just go undefeated, which I don't know what y'all are drinking. I don't want none of it. That kind of stuff is going to have me jumping off of bridges. That stuff is going to have me in chicken coops, like all types of things like Smokey. So that's not what I want. And we always start thinking about the long-term picture. We always start thinking about what it looks like at the end of the season. But I always want to narrow our focus. The one thing there's two things I'm passionate about. The non-conference schedule as relates to the University of Texas and the recruiting conversation. All the time with the recruiting conversation, I always hear Texas needs all these 5 stars. All these 5 stars are coming in. And Ketch would write something about how the 5 stars somehow equate to NFL drafting and all these other type of things. And I always go back to a simple question. How many 5 stars do you need to be TCU? How many 5 stars do you need to be Oklahoma State? How many 5 stars do you need to be Iowa State? You've got the talent at Texas. At some point, it has to be the coaching. So when I get these conversations, all that stuff is great when you get to the CFP, right? And you're there. And now you can talk about, hey, competing for a national title. We're talking about a team that hasn't won a Big 12 title since 2009. I don't give a damn about the stars at this moment. I just want to know, can you coach up the talent that you have? So that's one thing you'll always hear me say. You'll always hear me be passionate about that conversation. And again, it's a recruiting conversation. I end up going anti-company on that one because, you know, Rivals is into recruiting rankings, right? And I'm just like, I get it, but I come from a pro background. I did the NFL for many years. So for me, it's all about this. Can you coach up what you have? So, and I look at the guys like Gary Patterson. I look at Mike Gundy. I look at Matt Campbell. I look at guys who coach up the talent that they have. And I give those guys a salute, all due respect to what they do. But the other thing that I always talk about, and I'm going to talk about it until I don't have to talk about it, it's the non-conference schedule and how that has been a real thorn in Texas's side for a long period of time. Why is that relevant today, Anwar? Okay, so here it is. Texas is currently in the mix for a lot of elite recruits. A lot of guys are interested in the University of Texas at this moment. We've gone down the list, but I'll go through a couple of the big names. Cameron Williams, the big offensive lineman out of Duncanville. I think dude's like 370. Like, dude is huge. And if you look at that offensive line from Alabama, That's the kind of offensive lineman that you need here at Texas. Like, you don't need a bunch of guys who are 290 that you got to hope that they can grow into them. Get your guy at 370 that you got to come back down to 365. Get your guy kind of mauler. You had clearly Arch Manning was here recently, and he's a guy that include Texas in the mix for the Beaumont safety. Bryce Anderson, he was here this past weekend. He's another guy that Texas is in the mix for. When you think about some of the big names in the state of Texas, they're all considering the Longhorns. Cameron Williams, he talked to Jason Sucamel, who's our recruiting writer, over the weekend, and this is why you got to get on Orange Bloods. And he said, you know what? I thought I had my mind made up prior to this past weekend, and now he's got things to rethink. So clearly, Steve Sarkisian and his staff has done a tremendous job of garnering interest, getting guys, thinking about the Longhorns, and this is a challenge. But here's the thing. It's a challenge they're doing well in. But here's the thing. The issue that Texas faces right now is that when it comes to the success of the program in an era that these recruits can remember, they don't have a lot to pinpoint to. They don't have a lot to point to as far as this is Texas. Again, I'll say this again. We always talk about the old Texas. We talk about the Vince Youngs and what that looked like, and Ricky Williams of the world. And you watch LHN, which is kind of the History Channel, right? You watch all those type of things. It's great in our minds. We're older. I'm in my 40s, late 40s, by the way. Do I have to say it? Yeah, 47. I'm in my 40s. Where are you at? But you remember, I remember the Vince Young touchdown. I wasn't here in Texas, but I definitely remember that's a historic game versus USC, right? I remember the Colt McCoy era. I remember all those things. But we got to start thinking about today's generation and what they remember. I said the Vince Young 2005 season was 16 years ago. So let's start doing simple math. And a kid who was an 18-year-old recruit, 18 minus 16, that means he was 2 years old when Vince Young crossed the goal line. At best, he was 2 years old. A 17-year-old was 1. A junior who was 16 years old may not even been born. And so you have a generation of young people who have grown up watching the Ohio States. They think Ohio State is, the everything, right? They've seen Alabama be successful. They've seen Clemson be successful. And so Texas keeps trying to sell kids on what they could be and what the program once was. And that's a huge challenge. It's not to say it can't be done, but it's a challenge. And here's a challenge that Steve Sarkisian faces. A lot of these elite guys who are interested in Texas are saying, you know what? We really like Texas. We like you guys. We really think you're cool. But we really want to see something on the field. We really want to see what you look like this year. That's what Evan Stewart is saying. That's what Arch Manning is saying. They want to see what the product is on the field. And if the product looks good, then it gives everyone a reason to go ahead and be a part of the program. If it's not, then they just go to what they know. Okay? And so this is where I say, and for my Overreaction Monday, and you're right, the other guy finally gets a chance to talk, right? For my Overreaction Monday of actually being able to talk and not being interrupted. Ketch will never come back to these things now if he sees this. He'll be like, this dude is this shitting on me the whole time. I'm just messing with you, dude. For my Overreaction Monday, though, what it really means is the first 3 games of this season, Texas has to absolutely nail. They have to shake the past and nail these first 3 games. Now, you may say, I don't know what, of course, like they have to nail the first 3 games, but where are you going with this? Like, where are you at with this? For those of you who didn't read my column, let me explain this thing to you. And unfortunately, to show my age, I will have to put on these readers. But let me go into a couple of things. The last time the University of Texas was undefeated in non-conference games, the first 3 games of the season, the last time Texas was undefeated was 2012. And that's when Texas defeated Wyoming, New Mexico, and Ole Miss. That is the last time, folks, that's the last time Texas started the season 3-0. Think about that, 2012. And since that point, let's just go through some of the losses. In 2013, there was BYU and Ole Miss. In 2014, there was BYU and UCLA. That was Charlie Strong's first year. That was that UCLA game that was close until the end. There's also that weird UCLA game when UCLA got the ball in the first half and in the second half. Okay, all right. I know you went to counseling. You don't want to talk about it again. 2015, there was the loss against Notre Dame, the loss against Cal. 2016, they had the loss against Cal. That was at Cal, which, by the way, that I went out to Cal for that game. I learned that they are blazing out there on that hill. Oh, you can smell that sticky icky from the press box. I'm like, oh, this is how they get down out there. That's also the game where that season, it's a 2016 season where they played Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was ranked at that time. And I'll never forget this. Andy Staples, a good friend of mine. He works at the Athletic. He and I go back to, we worked in Tampa together. We were both young and coming up in the business. And he was at that game. I think he may have been working for SI at the time. He was at that game. I was like, all right, Texas had won. And I was like, man, Andy, what do you think? Like, what's your vibe? And we were standing on the field. And Andy goes to me, well, looks like you won't have to do a coaching search after this season. Yeah, thanks, Andy. Kansas happened. Thanks, Andy. Anyway, so let's go past that. Let's go past Andy Staples and his jinx. And again, Andy's my dude. So all love to him. 2017, Tom Herman gets there and everyone's all hyped. Everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. They lose against Maryland. Then they end up 2 weeks later, and then they lose against USC on the road. 2018, open up the season, loss against Maryland. 2019, loss against LSU at home, which is a great game, a memorable game, a loss nonetheless. 2020, obviously the pandemic hits, and Texas doesn't have an opportunity to play my mighty USF Bulls, and they know what time it is. I'm a USF alum, so they didn't get a chance to play against USF or LSU or anyone else, and so we don't know what that record would have gone to. Here's another interesting factoid, though, and I'm telling you, this is the importance of a fast start for this team this year. But here's another interesting fact here. In this time span, Texas is actually 2-10 against Power 5 programs. 2-10. Those 2 wins, Notre Dame, which was in 2015, and USC in 18. And every other is a loss. And overall, from an overall perspective, Texas is 10-11 in non-conference games since that 2012 season. 10-11. It's actually, unfortunately, it's one of the worst percentages of any Big 12 team. It actually puts them at 48%, which is last. Literally, Iowa State, and I'm going to go through the list. Oklahoma State is first at 91%. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are tied. I apologize for that, at 91%. Texas Tech at 82%. TCU, 82%. Baylor, 80%. Kansas State, 73%. West Virginia at 77%. I definitely need to flip that. I don't know what the hell. Where's my editors at when I need them? Kansas at 54%, Iowa State at 50%, and Texas at 48%. It becomes relevant to the conversation for this. Texas starts off the season against Louisiana. And Louisiana, as you guys know, they're no joke. That's a team that's posted 10 wins the past 2 years. So you can't sleep on Louisiana and just say, oh, well, they're just facing Louisiana. It is what it is. We're at home. We got the new South end zone there. Everyone's going to be back after pandemic. You can't just act like they're Louisiana. And in fact, Steve Sarkisian recently said, hey, don't act like this is the other school of Louisiana. This is a really good team. And by the way, Steve Sarkisian, who was obviously under Nick Saban for the past couple of years, well, guess what? The Louisiana coach, Billy Napier, he was under Saban as well. So you're going to get 2 quality coaches, but you can't sleep on it. You can't sleep on Louisiana at all. And then Arkansas is after that. And then there's Rice, right? But then Arkansas is after that. And that's on the road. That's at night. And you guys know, you follow college football long enough to know that crazy things happen at night game in college football. It's just the weirdest thing, but we love watching those Thursday night games. You think, oh, there's this ranked opponent versus this unranked opponent. What's going to happen? And the craziest things happen. And so when you have Texas that has the attention of the elite guys, and obviously some guys will make choices before the regular season gets started, but there's other guys who are going to wait. I mean, right now it's June, end of June, July is coming. Goodness, sooner than we think, right? I mean, it's right around the corner. July 4th is coming. I hope you guys have some good plans. Be safe, of course. But July is around the corner. These kids are going to start getting back into their football seasons and start getting ready for their football season. Then they'll just start to say, let's just wait. I got some time. I'll take an official visit in the fall. The one thing Texas cannot afford, and the one thing that Steve Sarkisian has to break, is stumbling in the out-of-conference schedule. Because if they do stumble, and it's do stub their toe, and there is a stub the toe against Louisiana, there is a stub the toe against Arkansas, what it does is give kids the reason to say, you guys were talking a good game, but you guys really wasn't about that life. You guys are really still a program that's good, but not great. It's still a program that probably is not going to compete for a conference title, right? You don't want that. You don't want them to go on the road against Arkansas, a team that won 3 games last year. And I know everyone keeps saying, oh, well, Arkansas, the rivalry, so on and so forth. Man, times change. Okay, I get it's a rivalry for the old people. Arkansas wasn't that good. You can't go there and lose based off of what a rival used to be years ago. Nebraska used to be an amazing program years ago. But at that time, times change, right? So Texas needs to go out in the first couple of games in the 3-0 start. And I'm telling you, if they get the 3-0 start, then you get the recruiting momentum that you desire. You keep the attention of a guy like Arch Manning, because Arch Manning has to decide at some point, hey, am I going to go to Texas, or am I going to go to Bama and take the sure shot? Am I going to go to Texas, or going to go to Clemson and take the sure shot? You know, am I going to go to Texas or potentially go to Georgia? You know, these type of things you have to consider, that, hey, these are what they're thinking about. And so that's why I say my overreaction is Texas has got to start, and I get it. Most coaches in their first year, I'll wrap up with this. Most coaches in their first year, you give them time, right? You give them time. You're like, all right, man, you got to get in your guys. You got to establish your culture, right? So you give guys a pass. And even though they're not successful, you still give them a pass in year one. You say, all right, things happen, but you need time to build. But Steve Sarkisian doesn't have that luxury. He really doesn't, because he inherits a 7-win team that was good. They weren't great, but they were good. And to get the attention of guys, the one thing he can't afford is losses that turns them off towards Texas. And then next thing they know, they don't want to come here. Steve Sarkisian has to start fast. And if he starts fast, then all of a sudden you get that momentum going, you keep that attention going. And then all of a sudden you start to get those guys, you get guys who want to come back on campus. You get guys that want to take the official visits, and you don't get guys dismissing you, because the recruiting landscape is tricky. Texas A&M is good. Alabama's still coming in here. Ohio State's still coming in here. So Texas, they have everyone's attention. But in order to seal the deal, those first 3 games are huge towards the success of the season. Now, once you get past the first 3, then at that point, I mean, then you got to rock and roll within the Big 12. But I'm that type of person, like, let's start here. Let's start with you coaching up what you have, which goes into my 5-star conversation. And you start off strong, finish strong, and then you'll see what happens. Now, I hope you guys liked and enjoyed this video. This is a solo video. I went solo on that ass, but I'm still the same. I hope you guys enjoyed this thing. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I can't tell you what the videos are going to look like the rest of the week. It might just be me sitting here in my living room talking to you. Eventually I'll get a backdrop. We'll get all these things worked out. Maybe Catch joins me. Maybe I have some guests on. I don't know. Just be prepared to know I will be here every day this week, regardless. If it's just you and I chopping it up, then so be it. Hey, but until the next video comes out, make sure you like and subscribe this one. I appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.